Hey, everybody. I'm Captain Tommy Scoble, and you are on the lifeboat. I'm not exactly sure why I can't get the. There we go. There you go. Little live chat action. To pull that up, so in theory I can see you peoples. Hey, glad you're all here. This one's been done before. It's been a hot minute since I did it, but this is for me one of the most fascinating subjects that we talk about ever on the lifeboat. And occasionally you want to pat yourself on the back or get some kind of validation from what you do because I'm not a doctor and we don't diagnose things, but we sure as hell explain things. And it kind of makes you feel good when all of a sudden, good to see you. I'm really happy that you are here. Sharon, I'm glad that you're here, truthfully. So sometimes you just want, I talk about the malfunctioning reward center of the brain. I talk about it a lot, right? If that doesn't make sense to the people on the boat, then we're spinning our wheels, right? Because it is the basis of everything that I talk about. And, there certainly is, something to just having to kind of take someone's word for it, put your faith in somebody. There's definitely a time where you just kind of have to go with that. This isn't one of those times because what we're talking about here is pretty heavy stuff. In theory, I'm going to be talking to you about things that, not to put too much on it, but this is life-changing stuff. This is how you're going to figure out whether or not you can get sober, whether or not this is the group that you want to be on, whether or not you feel like you can learn anything. So I think it's probably a good idea to back up to the beginning and start talking about things that are absolutely nuts and bolts stuff that are really, really important, right? They're important to so much more than just, it's what we talk about. If this makes sense to you, then probably the vast majority of the things that we talk about are going to fall in line because they all are kind of linchpins on this. If this theory is correct, that yes, in fact, it's the malfunctioning reward center of the brain that makes us crave drugs and become addicts, then yeah, we're right in the wheelhouse. That's going yard. So if you've been on the boat, you probably remember this speech or this talk. But since the last time we did it, I was able to find some new research and some pretty cool research. And what's great is I have the ability to watch it, and it's a one-camera thing. And that's really kind of how I assimilate information better than anything else. If I can look at it, like I can see a speaker and I can listen to it, for me, that makes memorizing rather easy. So we're going to talk today about the striatum. And if that is not a part of your brain that you're hip to, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't even know what the hell a striatum is, well then, you should probably know that I didn't either. When I started doing the research on this, I had never heard of that part of the brain. I've never heard anybody bring it up. When you find out what it does, you'll be surprised that no one ever brought it up because this is some pretty heavy duty stuff. You hear me talk about things like, well, you got 40 to 60,000 thoughts every day, right? And by the time you take that and subtract it from the things that we do in life that are habitual, things that we do in life that we do not have to think about, those things in life that we don't have to think about are handled by the striatum. Very interesting what this thing does. I got a great example that anybody here who has ever driven an automobile for any length of time can relate to. You ever get somewhere, you leave work and you got to drive 2 miles home, maybe 3 miles home, and you're sitting in the car and you're thinking about somebody at work that drove you nuts. That guy Carl is such a jerk. Honestly, I can't stand working with that guy. I got to ask them if maybe they can, maybe put me in a different division or do something where I'm just not going to be around him as much because the guy's the most negative person in the entire world. Truthfully, I absolutely am. And the next thing you know, your house is right there. And you're like, damn. If I walked up to you right then and said, there are 7 traffic lights between here and your office, How many of them were red on the way home? I don't know. No, of course you don't. You were on autopilot. You don't have to think about such things because the striatum says that light is red. When that light is red, we stop the car. The right leg, right, goes onto the fat pedal to the left, depresses it. We stop. No thought whatsoever to that. None. You bend over to tie your shoe, right? You grab one side, grab the other, and in what? Not even a second, you've got a beautiful tight bow and you're standing back up to walk away. Do you remember learning to tie your shoe? Of course not. Most of us don't. That's a very, very early memory. And most of us, quite simply put, don't remember that, you know? But the striatum does. It remembers the hell out of that. And in the process, it is determined that when you bend over and start reaching for your shoes, this is what your hands are going to do. No thoughts whatsoever. Pretty heavy, right? And it's very important that this part of our brain exists. Because if you didn't have the striatum, can you imagine what life would be like? That's a red light. Damn, what was I supposed to do on red? Red's brakes, right? Right, yeah, red's brakes. Man, you couldn't do half of the things that you do. You would be white knuckle driving the whole way home. Hands at 10 and 2, right? Hands at 10 and 2. Got to put on my signal, right? The signal's for this. Head on a swivel, right? All of those things that we take for granted. You know, now you could be driving down the street, texting with one hand, right? Singing a Bon Jovi tune, bopping your head up and down, tapping one foot, and the next thing you know, you're home. All of those things are autopilot. It requires no thought because the striatum, in order to streamline life, the striatum has said, I got this, don't worry about it. When you do X, I'm going to do Y. Ding dong, right? You hear the front doorbell. Ding dong, what do you do? No thought, right? I mean, you may think, I wonder who's at the door, but you're not going to sit on the couch and go, I wonder what the hell I do when that noise goes off. I know I've heard it before. Might be the microwave. No, you're going to jump up. You're going to go walk into the front door. If you got a peephole, you're going to look at it. And then you're going to ask who's on the other side of the door and you're going to let them in. No thought. None. You might think there is, but there's not. That is the striatum of your brain taking over what needs to be done. It is a very, very interesting part of the brain. And there are a lot of things that kind of converge there, right? The effects of social disconnect, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, but the effects of social disconnect, compulsory behavior, and also involuntary physical moves, like people that, you know, that develop tics, same part of the brain, right? The striatum handles that as well. And addictive drugs, the ability to get addicted, all come together in the striatum. So when they started doing some deep dives and really studying the crap out of the striatum, a couple of weird things happened. They started testing things out on animals. And after a series of breeding rodents, they came across rodents that would do something that was definitely compulsive. They couldn't stop doing it. And it almost looked like a tic. But they would sit there and basically just rub their faces, you know, like they were cleaning them until the scientists had to go in there and manually stop them, or they would just rub themselves down to blood. Now, if anybody knows people that have done tons of methamphetamine, you've probably met people that do the exact same thing. But that compulsive behavior started. And the scientists thought, well, here you go. See, compulsive behavior is developed. But while they were watching, something else really strange happened. What happened is the rats didn't want to associate with any other rats. Even if they knew them from before, or if they were brand new ones that were put into the environment, they wanted nothing to do with them. All of the mice just went over into their little, you know, areas and staked out a spot. Nobody, no two mice or two rats sort of, you know, we're bonding up over here and those four will go over there like a clique. No, none of these things wanted anything to do with any of them. Well, that gets people thinking because that's pretty freaking bizarre. What is that all about? What is going on with the striatum? Well, here's what's going on with the striatum. As it turns out, the striatum not only handles releasing brain chemicals, right? We figured that. That's how it gets you to do certain things. One of the big ones is oxytocin, right? Makes you just, kind of warm and fuzzy. And you want to, you want to get together and hug and do all those things. It makes cuddling feel fantastic, right? That is a very, very cool thing. Sorry. Tommy Bird had put up a good quote. Now, this effect of social disconnect, this really starts to become the most fascinating part of what's going on in the striatum. And what they found is this: inside your body, this is not going to come as a shock to anybody that's been on the lifeboat for any length of time. You have receptors in your brain. Right? They are opioid receptors. The MU and the MU2 and all those, they're opioid receptors. Well, they get turned on, right? The striatum handles that. And you don't need dope from the outside. You don't need something to trigger the release of all of that chemical, like heroin or fentanyl or all that. No, your striatum does it. Now, it's not going to turn it on like a faucet, like a shot of dope would, but it is definitely going to put enough chemical, right, on the receptor where all of a sudden those rodents are like, hey, check it out. Two new mice, right? Go over there and introduce themselves. I'm Hal. This is Tony. It's the feeder bar over there. All of a sudden, that interaction was back, and they started wondering if the same kind of things was happening with human beings. If, as human beings, the striatum starts getting us to do behaviors that are unique to drug addicts, does that mean that chances are we're not being social? Right? If the striatum's taken up all of its time doing those type of addictive, compulsive behaviors, what's going on now with the social aspects of this? And what they found is it absolutely has the same effect with humans. Now, because we articulate better, you hear people come up with excuses all the time. Nah, you know what, dude, I'm beat. I'm just going to go home, going to kind of hang out, because it's one of those things that they don't have any desire to hang out with people, even people they used to deeply care about. You start to isolate. Social isolation very quickly becomes real. Snot face, good to see you. So this starts to open up a whole very interesting line of thought. We're starting to now understand the mechanism of how learned behavior, right, starts to affect the drug addict. And we say all the time, right, that you're not connected anymore. You're not part of the society. You're not going out and meeting people. You're not connecting. You're doing the exact opposite. You're pulling back at a time when you need what more than anything? Connection. Loneliness starts to kick in. And they have been doing some pretty rowdy studies on loneliness. And you know how you hear people say, well, sitting is the new smoking, right? You hear things like that because they don't want you sitting for 8 hours a day because it's super bad for you. And it might even be as bad for you as smoking cigarettes for a long period of time. Well, I got one for you. Loneliness is wicked bad for your body and for your mind. They are saying that it is actually worse for you than long-term alcohol abuse in the long run. Chronic loneliness will bring on all kinds of mental decline, all kinds of physical problems, all because we're just not connecting with people. We were not meant to be an island. Yeah, we were not meant to be a rock. We were supposed to be very social animals. It's how that we were designed, and unfortunately, that has started to go away. Let's say, here's where it gets really, really interesting, right? Like to use an illustration. If somebody was in the desert for any length of time, right, and they're just hot as you could possibly imagine, and they feel like they're going to die. There's no liquid, and finally they come across some people, and they say, "Hey, I've got some liquid. You look like you're in bad shape. Yeah, what have you got?" I got ginger ale. Oh man, I really don't like ginger ale. Obviously, guy's not going to say that. He's parched, right? He needs that liquid. And you know what he's going to find? He's going to find that ginger ale tasted better than anything he has ever tasted in his life. This stuff is amazing. I can't believe I didn't like this in the past. I mean, this is magical. Smacking his lips. This is amazing, right? I love this. This stuff's great. Probably should get something to eat too. What do you got? I got 4 Ritz crackers I can give you. Same thing. He's going to eat that cracker and go, that tastes better than filet mignon. Why? Because the striatum, which has been cut off from social interaction, which is a very big part of what it is supposed to be doing. You're lonely. You're not connecting with anybody, right? The compulsive behavior is there, but of the 3 things that are moving into the striatum at all parts, the effects of social disconnect have really screwed you over. What's the 3rd rung? The 3rd rung is addiction, addictive behavior. So the next thing you find when you're coming out of that, not literal desert, but you're coming out of a situation where because of your drug use and because of your lifestyle, you have been pulled back from everybody. You got nothing to do with any of your friends. No connection whatsoever, right? Opposite of addiction is connection. Well, you don't have any. You don't have any. And now you start to back off a little bit. You're trying to get your brain in order and you're saying, man, I have really, really got to stop, right? I got to do something to cut this down. I really, really got to stop. The next thing that enters into your sphere that brings any amount of pleasure, which can also be thought of by the striatum as reward, it's going to say, you know what? When he drinks that ginger ale, oh boy, man, he's never happier. Flood this cat with chemicals. Not a big deal, and it's almost humorous, isn't it? But what if the starving that you were doing had nothing to do with water or food? What if the starving that you've been enduring was about connection, love, affection, right? The things that make us human that don't require us eating, sleeping, things like that. Well, the next thing down the pike that makes you feel like you're whole, it makes you feel like you're not broken, you are going to be on the next train smoking, bullet train to becoming an addict, and fast. Because your striatum is not only saying, oh, this is good, he's happy, give him a bunch of chemicals, but it's a computer and it's learning X happens, I do Y. No thought process. X happens, I do Y. This guy gets really, really bummed out, and this stuff he's smoking makes him feel much better. So when he's bummed out, we're going to make sure that he goes and gets some of that tar heroin, methamphetamine, whatever your drug is. He gets really upset. The next thing that he does is he drinks beer. So the striatum says, I got this. I got this. He's bummed out. I'll get him into the liquor store. And you do it on autopilot. You don't even remember driving there sometimes, right? I mean, you got in the car, but the whole ride down there, you're not thinking of anything. Snot face. Thank you so much. And we're really glad you found this channel too. I mean that. Now, everything I'm saying might be getting a little bit depressing. Don't let it. Stick around, because this is heavy duty, important stuff. And it might even have a happy ending. I mean, it might. I can't make any promises. But because of the fact that when you're starving for something, right, whether it's emotion, whether it's connection, the next thing that is going to give you feel-good chemicals, the very next thing, you're going to be on really serious thin ice to develop an addiction to this stuff. And I mean fast, right? Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Your striatum is looking for the next big thing. And where do a lot of people get it from? Right? Because you may not run right out to a dope dealer. You may not run out to, but you probably got a phone in your hand, right? You probably got a phone in your hand. And if you start going down the rabbit hole of that phone, it may as well be crack. It may as well be meth. It may as well be anything, because there's going to be a reward that gets kicked out for you using the phone. And the striatum goes, got it. She's bummed out. She picks up the phone. She checks Instagram, she checks her emails, and all of a sudden, she feels great. She's not acting weird anymore. She seems happy as hell. Let's make this happen. All right? X equals Z, pick up the phone. This happens, get her the phone. This happens, get her the phone. If that was the only thing that happened, we could live with it. But you can become ingrained to 10 habits. Well, if mom makes me angry, then I'm just going to go to to social media and I'm going to go check on this and that. But if my significant other does, well, that's a completely different thing. And for that, I'm going to drink a half a fifth of bourbon. These involuntary things that we think are voluntary, don't we? We come home, yeah, you know what, my girlfriend really pissed me off. It was a long day at work and I just really was angry, so I decided to. You didn't decide to do anything. You can say that. I made a choice to go down to the liquor store. No, you didn't. The striatum said, this happened, you do this. It's like a Lucas electrical system from the old MGs, right? You put on your turn signal, and inside a switch throws another switch, right? Doesn't make a lot of sense. But these actions that we do, instantly addicted. The potential is there to become instantly addicted, and I mean to all of them, whatever that happens to be. And you say, well, it could be drugs. You're right. It could be gambling, right? It could be sexual. It could be sugar. It really doesn't matter what it is if it rewards you for the habit you're about to do. And we know that sugar, you always get a rush off of sugar because it kicks out dopamines and it raises the baseline of dopamine in your body. Nicotine does the exact same thing. Alcohol probably does it way more than the rest of them. Meth is the top of the food chain in terms of that. And then heroin lies somewhere in between. But when that reward gets kicked, the striatum, which doesn't really work at the same building, right? The striatum has a completely different job. What do I know about Shetland ponies? Very little. Very nice, 7. Very nice. But they kind of work in different departments. You understand? So the striatum might not know exactly what just happened, but he got the memo that what this cat just did, which is A in the equation, got a whole lot of chemicals released into his body. That would be B. So every time A happens from this point on, I'm not going to shortchange him. I'm going to hit him with the B that fast, right? We'll make this cat happy again. That's why you feel well before the alcohol gets into your system. You touch that stuff to your lips. You're not drunk. You're not going to be drunk for 15, 20 minutes. You won't even be feeling the first of the effects for 15, 20 minutes. But your striatum is already going, oh yeah, the good stuff's coming, right? Let's make him happy. Let's make him really happy. I bet he'll drink another one, right? Let's keep doing it. Let's keep telling him how important that next drink is, right? And maybe we can get him to do a shot. Obviously this stuff is really important. I don't think the striatum is trying to kill you. I think it doesn't know any better, right? This is an involuntary, this happens and I'm going to do this. They trained. Bottom line, trained. They say 80% of what we do every day is habitual. And I absolutely believe that. So a lot of people, almost the vast majority of people who are not happy where they're at. So the striatum is actively looking for that first Ritz cracker, right? And that ginger ale. It's been starving now for so long that it is ready to glom on to the next thing that gives pleasure of any kind. And the cell phone is one that really starts to happen. And people start thinking, you know what? This is probably a really good thing. Been called racist by the same patron multiple times, even though it's clear that I'm not. I laugh it off, but sometimes it can be rough. I'm not a big fan of being called anything like that. It's painful because, the people who are racist are some of the most ignorant. It doesn't show class. It doesn't show intelligence. I would be bummed out by that too, snot-faced, but I don't believe for a second, right? I don't believe for a second. Oh, Sharon, what a very nice thing to say. I really appreciate that. I do. So we start thinking to ourselves, it seems to me that connection, I don't need dope, right? Connection's going to do the same thing. The striatum is going to give me feel good chemicals. All I need is to connect, right? I can connect with things. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go right here, right? And I'll just connect with people that I'm friends with all over the world, and I'll do it on Facebook, right? The problem becomes that with social media, you don't really share, right? Which would be people getting together and working toward a common goal, right? Getting to know one another. In other words, connection. But instead of connection, what you get, there's no share, there's compare, right? What happens is you turn this on. I understand, snot face. I really do. I'm out here, and people say it about me all the time, and and then other people can come here and say whatever they want about me, and. But I promise you, you get thick skin. You know who you are. That's the most important thing. We know who you are, but you absolutely know who you are, right? That's a huge thing. So instead of sharing, you're comparing. And when you start comparing, everybody's lying, right? Everybody's putting a much nicer version of themselves out there, right? Hey, honey, let's take a selfie in front of the tree. No, no, no. Everybody go home and put on your best clothes, right? Make sure you shine the shoes. And that watch you got, the expensive one, put that on. No, we can't see it with that jacket. Put it on with a short sleeve shirt. People engineer what they want you to see. And then you look at it and go, damn, look at that. I know we were talking about that cruise and maybe we can't afford it, but man, you know how many cool pictures we could take on that, right? And then we could send them to our friends and our friends could, we could be connecting. No, you could be comparing. And you're going to make them as miserable as they made you. It's super, super unhealthy. It really is. And it also, through all of this, one of the big things that comes up is stigma, right? Stigma is real. It's another thing that can make you sick. But think about what stigma does in the short term, right? Oh man, this guy does drugs. I mean, yeah, we can have him around, but the guy's kind of a loser. Do me a favor and just keep an eye on your wallet and, anything, you might want to put anything up here that's of value and just maybe hide it in the desk or something. I mean, dude's a junkie. Those kind of stigmas keep us sick. They absolutely keep us sick. And they make us want to seek out what? They make us want to seek out connections from people who are not going to judge us or allow that stigma to get anywhere near us. I wonder where we could find them, right? I wonder where we could find people where their stigma isn't an issue in their life and the stigma is not an issue in my life. And I could hang out with like 5 or 10 dudes that are never going to judge me. Guess what they all have in common? A dope habit, an absolute dope habit. The reason that they are not going to judge you is because they're doing the same thing. So these people with the best of intentions, like the letter I read the other day, so proud of you. I mean, to make it 4 months, that really is an accomplishment. Don't mention it at the dinner party, please. If somebody says, why aren't you drinking? Tell them you're driving or whatever. But, let's not bring that up, because we're ashamed of you. I mean, they not finish the sentence, but that's what they're saying. I'm ashamed of you. So let's not bring that up. Think that's good for connection? No, that girl or boy is going to go out and they're going to find someone that's never going to be ashamed of them. And the easy way to do that is to find someone that also has a bag of dope in their pocket. Hey man, how you doing? I feel sick. I haven't had anything in a day and a half and I feel like I'm going to die. I got you. Don't worry about it. I just picked up 4 bags. I get you this time, you get me the next time. And you start saying to yourself, these are the people that care about me. These are the people that don't want me to be sick. These are the people that don't judge me for my behaviors. And what do you think happens, people? The striatum says, this is the perfect scenario. Look at how happy everybody is, right? This is real connection. This person's helping that person, which is causing some oxytocin and a lot of feel-good chemicals. This is just a beautiful thing. And he's no longer stressed because he just got, he just got his issue, his drugs. I mean, all of this is just perfect. Hell, they may even fall in love. But that striatum is going to say, the next time a normie gives even a hint of stigma, we're going to do this. We're going to go seek out some people who are already addicted and are in the life so we can go over there and go, man, you know what my sister just said about me? Or do you know what my brother just said about me? And you'll tell them how bad it hurt or whatever. And someone's going to say, well, I don't feel that way about you, brother. I don't at all. Hey, you got any tin foil with you? Because I don't have any, but I got a couple of bags of tar. No, you know what? We'll swing by 7-Eleven and I'll just steal 4 or 5 inches off of the roll, right? We'll go out back and take care of this. Bonding, the worst freaking possible way. And then very often, if both parties are, the two people that don't judge one another are out of money, what could possibly go wrong? Because one of them can look at him and say, you know what? I'll run into a store and go steal things. I have absolutely no qualms about doing that. And why would I? Right? You're not going to judge me. I'm not judging me. And the normies aren't going to help us. So you know what? We'll just become outlaws. Right? What do you think the fastest thing we could sell in there? And this is how it happens. This is how something you would never think of doing. Right? Something you would never dream of doing. Right? People that sell their bodies. People that break into stores and steal things. People that steal from relatives. Stuff you would never, ever dream of doing. But that's not your family anymore. Why? Your family doles out stigma. Your family makes you feel like you are less than. Less than human, less than perfect, less than every other person in the family, less than. But your little group of friends, one thing and one thing only makes that a club that will take care of one another forever. And what is that one thing? Dope, right? If you rally around what is broken, the bonds will be stronger than anything else in the world. Nice. You have a lot of odd animals, Snotface. Thank you, Seven Son. I really appreciate that. I really do. And it goes to a very cool cause for real. So neuroplasticity, right? We start talking about all of this, by the way, is neuroplasticity. But there is hope in neuroplasticity because if you continue to fire new neurons, instead of, the stigma happens. And instead of going over and finding someone, you go, you know what? I'm going to go outside and walk until I'm not upset. That's it. I'm going to go outside. And if I got to walk a mile or maybe I got to walk 2, and you know what I'm going to do while I'm walking? I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to dial somebody, right? That I know for a fact is sober. They're going to pick up the phone. They're going to talk me through this because this is somebody in my 5. Thank you, KD. Very classy, man. Very classy. What you just did was you fired 2 neurons, right? In a positive way. Now, the striatum will look at it the first couple of times and go, you know what? I can't, I can't go all in on this. Let's see if he does it again. If he does it 1 or 2 more times, right, then maybe we'll start to think about making it a habit. There's an old cliche that says neurons that fire together, wire together. Because you're literally laying a cable back and forth. That's what the striatum's doing, right? They lay a cable so that this happens, send that down the cable. It's already thought about. Hold on 1 second. Seventh Son, it depends on where exactly the person is. All together, in and out, doctors, all of that, you're looking at just under $350. And that covers the first month. That gets the ball rolling. Good question, too. So now you've got this neuroplasticity, right? And there is a lot of people that all of a sudden are doing a lot of really cool research on this, because this looks to have potential for everything, right? For people who struggle with weight, people who struggle with sugar. Well, if it's the striatum doing it, and if you can replace the bad stuff with the good stuff, well, then certainly this can change everything, right? This is a game changer. So you know what they need to do? They need to get a group of people who can figure out a way to make this happen better, right? Yeah. They got to find a game plan that will do exactly what somebody needs. And there is a name for this stuff, right? When these people start studying scalable tools for psycho-spiritual practices, right? I'm paraphrasing, but they rally around certain stuff, right? Because as we said, the striatum wants to get you hooked fast. Gambling, love, food, smack, booze, sugar, right? Your phone, social media. It's just all bad. And we have seen the places across the country that are most plagued by really bad economies, by poverty, right? They have social disconnect because of that. Agreed? Yeah. No one's going out. No one's doing anything. They're depressed. They're staying inside. They socially disconnect. What happens when you socially disconnect? Well, you're the person starving on the island that needs the water and the cracker. Except you need the brain fed, not the stomach. You need the heart and the soul fed. And it just has to be something that makes you feel a head change. The chemical comes down and says, you did a good thing. And the striatum goes, ooh, we might have one, right? The stuff he's smoking, every time he does it, he seems to get better much quicker. Let's make that the default setting, because that's what the striatum is. If you think about it, it is exactly what it is. It's your default setting. Somebody hits you on the thumb with a hammer, you yell. Your hand instantly goes to your thumb, right? You don't have to think about any of those things because they've all happened to us so many times that it is just second nature, right? Nothing to it. So now that they've got this science, right? This neuroplasticity, whatever they call it. Now that this science is there and they want to start studying these scalable tools. So if you can pull this off with 5 or 10 people, then in theory, maybe we could get 100 people to do it all at once, or maybe we could get 1,500 people to do it all at once, right? We can scale it up, but first we have to make sure it works. And we want these people to rally around stuff. So you could get people who all love the Grateful Dead. People who are super into Grateful Dead music. Now, they're not going to get there and get high. We're talking about the hypotheticals. But the one thing you rally around is the love of their music. And you can talk about, what do you think the best tour was ever? Egypt 72. That was when all the great stuff. And someone chimes in and says, no. In the days of Pigpen, back in the... Right? Now these people are connecting. They're connecting in a healthy way. Maybe that's not your subject, but they're not getting high. They're not hurting anybody. They're using their brain to talk about things that have brought them together. And that is a beautiful thing. And this is the concept of laying a new cable, going back and forth and laying a new cable. And this neuroplasticity absolutely means that you can do that. It just is going to take discipline, right? So you got deadheads, you got soccer hooligans, hobbies, right? Anything. You want to make sure that you avoid the hobbies that are plugged into social media. You can say, well, I'm only using social media to talk about a hobby that I really love, right? And you're going to leave likes and no likes, and you're going to, forward something or share something that someone wrote. You're right back into the catch. It's dopamine hits, And you're always looking at it. You're going back to the habitual behavior. And if it's going to keep dragging you back to habitual behavior, that's not what you want the striatum doing. You want the striatum doing healthy behavior, right? Not addicting behavior. So, what if they could get people to put these little groups together, right? Get a group of people together who come together regularly to talk about something that is not going to be triggering for them to get high. They're not going to be talking about, hey, let's go out and do some blow, or, boy, you know what? I really love it when, when I drink more than 1/5. No one's glorifying booze. No one's doing anything. They could be talking about crochet. They could be talking about golf, but they're not going to be getting together to try doing anything wrong. And what's going to happen is the striatum is eventually, it might take a week, it might take 2 weeks, it might take a month. But eventually the striatum is going to get that person to a point where they say, man, you know what? I had an awful day. Really did. It just sucked. So I'm going to call Todd. I'm going to call Larry and, the rest of the guys. And I'm going to see if they all want to get together and maybe either play a round of golf or just get together and talk about golf. Why wouldn't he? Right? The striatum has said, this will fix your problems. Go out there and meet with people who are like-minded that aren't going to bring up anything about getting high or doing anything like that. This is a healthy scenario. This is a very healthy situation. Agreed? Of course it is. So I'm reading this study and I'm thinking to myself, well, this works, right? This is something that absolutely works. It just kind of makes sense. And then someone says that if they can rally around something that is broken, then the healing process tends to happen faster. So maybe you all work on automobiles that have blown engines, or you do restorations on motorcycles from the 1960s and you try to make them look beautiful or whatever, right? Okay. Because when you're rallying around something that's broken, then the striatum is going to lay thicker lines, right? And it's going to become so ingrained that when you're feeling not quite right in your own skin, then you're going to go and start working on the car or start doing whatever. Could you think of maybe a better thing that people could rally around where something is broken and needs to be repaired? This is a big one, people. Because I'm reading this study and I'm going, they're talking about the lifeboat. I mean, no joke. They're talking about the lifeboat. What do? We come together. We do it a couple of times a day. We leave all the BS at the door, right? We're not going to come in here and call you a filthy Democrat or call you a filthy Republican. We're all going to try to coexist. There are people on here that are Wiccan. There are people on here that call themselves witches. There are people on here that call themselves, a Satru, where they're worshiping Thor. And we've got Jewish guys, we've got Catholics, Protestants, you name it, including atheists, agnostics, whatever. But we all get along. Every one of us just get along. AKA Heather Joy, member for 6 months. Good Lord, has it really been that long? Wow, it absolutely is. Thank you, Heather. And I appreciate that you liking this one. I love this subject matter. But the last time I did this, they were not describing the boat. But when they use that fancy verbiage, we need to study scalable tools for psycho-spiritual practices that can rally around things, preferably things broken. Are you kidding? This is it. That's the lifeboat. We come here, we rally around each other. We have a broken soul. We have a broken heart. We have a broken relationship. We have a broken ability to control our substance of choice. Mr. Ray, not judging is fantastic. And sometimes you you have to spend a decent amount of time with someone like that and it rubs off. You know, he sees you not use and then he sees you not use again. And, the third time you say to him something like, you know what, brother, I struggle watching you drink yourself to death. It hurts. It hurts me. I care about you. I'd love it if maybe just when we get together, you don't drink. Won't be tough, man. It'd be 2 or 3 times a week, right? That you just don't drink during that time. And when you all get together and he's doing this one, right? That's your in where you go, holy cow, really? This is where you're at after taking 6 hours off from drinking? Brother, you need my help. You're broken. Make no mistake, you're broken. And you know what the good news is? So am I. I'm broken. I want to take you to a boat. It's a virtual boat. It's got about 4,500 people on it, right? It's got a captain, comes on and talks, right? He's got a co-captain. She comes on and talks. But every single one of them knows what it feels like to be where you're at right now. They're not going to judge you. There's not going to be any stigma. If you show up still using, no one's going to say anything about it. They're not going to beat on you. They're just going to keep loving and praying for you until something catches. Is there anything better than that? I mean, honestly, I'm trying to work this through. What's a better scalable model than the lifeboat? I've been groping about this for hours. I'm 3 days away from 2 months sober. Attaboy, Chili Phil. I love it. Absolutely love it. Whether Dumbo could actually fly or not is totally irrelevant. I'm glad to be 18 days sober. Well done, Brandon. The Marx Brothers did a deal in a movie called Animal Crackers. I'll just squirrel off a little because it's what I do. So they did a movie called Animal Crackers, and he talks about how he once shot an elephant in his pajamas. And then, of course, he did the Groucho Marx thing and said, how he got in my pajamas, I'll never know. But the guy said, you were hunting, elephant in the U.S.? He said, yeah, we have them. And he said, and I was able to remove the tusks. They're absolutely beautiful. And he said, well, you're not supposed to, take the ivory or whatever. And he said, oh, no, we didn't kill the animal. We just shot him, tranquilized him, removed the husks, and then let him on his way. And the guy said, how is that even possible? He said, well, I've only done it once, and I did it in Alabama. But, of course, in Alabama, the tusks flew loose. But that was my little tribute to Seventh Son. Utter destruction, another good one. You're on fire tonight, Seventh. You really are. You're on fire. So, studying scalable tools for psycho-spiritual practices that rally around certain subjects or habits, particularly ones that center on people or things that are broken. If I said to you, you got to come up with a textbook, boring as hell, stuffy, this is what they want to read kind of proposal or explanation for what it is we do on the lifeboat, I guarantee you would come up with something close to that. Something really damn close to that. Words might be a little different, whatever. But this is it. Right? This is it. Seventh. Yeah, Chili Phil, Brandon Galloway. Really proud of the both of you, man. Keep it up. Absolutely keep it up. You give it about, another month, another 28 days to a month. Maybe we have both of you on at the same time. I'm never more excited than I am when people are early in sobriety. When people say, I'm on day 7, the hair on the back of my neck stands up, because that's somebody that the boat helped, right? That was us. They came here broken, and now they're able to rally around the fact that they're broken, we're not going to judge them. And the striatum is going to go, you know what? This lifeboat thing is awesome. No joke. Brings out all kinds of chemicals. And when the host body gets in there, he doesn't just take all that in. He's making comments to other people and making suggestions and telling people that he loves them. Turn on more feel-good chemical. Let's etch this one in stone. Let's make him realize that this is so damn important that it will become involuntary behavior. And I get emails from people all the time that say, I'm just really, really having a bad time. I thank God that, the lifeboat's going up in 2 hours because I need it. So the striatum is saying, you got trouble. You better get on the boat. Right? That is the striatum that used to say, all right, let's go dumpster diving. Let's go steal some copper that we can take down to the recycling place. I know where there's a guy that's got a trailer at his house. It's got the ball hitch on it and everything. All we got to do is drive up with a truck and get rid of it. And I know a guy who knows a guy, and he'll give us a half an ounce of meth for it right now. And all of those stupid decisions, right? No. Your striatum knows that you are broken, and is going to talk you into being around other people who are broken, who care about you. Truthfully care about you. Why? Because you're part of this. You are part of this psycho-spiritual practice that we call the lifeboat. And everybody here is broken. I've looked at names today in the chat. They have had absolutely, according to them, they have had no drug trouble. They've had nothing in the way of addiction. Yet here they are. Because the boat fixes anything. It does. Habitual behaviors. Doesn't matter what the habitual behavior is. Why do you think we called it the boat? Because each and every person here struggling with an addiction problem is all in the same boat. If it's habitual, then you're in the same boat as all of us. Plain and simple. It really brings, levels the playing field and kind of brings everybody together. I have 500 open tabs on my phone. I have been using my finger to scroll through all of them basically since the show started. I got really kind of out of control with it. All right, let me see here. I would like to, why will it not turn? Okay, let's see. We keep feeding ourselves positive information and we start building our foundation around our family. The lifeboat, the lifeboat. What more can I say? Ask all of these wonderful people. Never quit. It's absolutely broken. Absolutely beautiful. I'm sorry I read broken. I am not broken. I'm super glued. Yeah, well, I feel that too. It's, I'm so grateful for the boat. Me too, Trish. Me too. I got to say hi to Trish the other day on the phone, which was really fun. I love it when I can hear some of you people talk, because more often than not, I don't know what you look like unless I've done an interview with you. I don't know what you look like. You all may be broken, but you are still amazing, and I appreciate you all. We all can do whatever we put our mind to. Much love and prayers. And Rip's right. Rip is absolutely right. I did a video, and I wish Lady Crispin was here because she would tell me the name of it. But there was an art. It's Asian. And a coffee pot or an urn or something like that will break. And they will reassemble it using gold on all of the cracks. Right? So they put it back together like a puzzle, and then they just use gold in between all of the breaks. And it just comes back to be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, right? The absolute most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And it's not just because the art is good, but because you sit there and you think, boy, that was broken. And people really went out of their way to make that thing beautiful again. Right? That's amazing. I do this with watches. Watches come in, right? And they have angles on the side, right? So if you polish this thing, right, it becomes worthless. So when a guy wants to sell me one and I look at it and it's got dings and scratches, and it looks like it's just never had anything cosmetically done to it. And always they apologize. Yeah, you know what? I never got around to getting the thing polished. It's kind of dinged up and whatever. And you look at them and go, thank God that you didn't get it polished. Because that's what people want. They want a vintage watch that looks like it's made it through the last 70 years and is still working. That's what people want. It's character, right? And these psycho science, the things that we're doing right here, right now. We've got some dings, we've got some scars, but God forbid somebody puts us onto one of those buffing wheels and turns us into something we were never meant to be. You get restored, but you really want to be original. Patrick Taylor, hi crew. I missed you this evening. I'll be catching up on the replay. Wishing everybody well. Yeah, I mean, what do you call a frog stuck in the mud? Unhappy. Well played. It's not the age, it's the mileage. Yep, there's something to that too. Digs and scars make us unique. Absolutely. And whether that's watches, human beings, whatever the case may be. But once somebody brings that basket case to me and it doesn't run and it's all messed up, I want to get that thing running again. I want to polish the outside by hand so that it looks beautiful, but it still looks like somebody's been wearing it for 50 years. I don't want to replace the hands. I don't want to replace the dial. I want it to look as original as it possibly can because that's what people want. I glued and painted a broken candle holder. Came from Dollar Tree, but it looked like $1 million. I love it. I really do. Feeling broken heals like scars. Stops from bleeding out. Yeah, the original patina is absolutely essential. You know what? We might be broken pieces, but we put it all back together and we look in the mirror and what do we see? I tell you what, man, the mirror was one of my favorite places because for so long I looked in the mirror and the person staring back at me was somebody that I didn't like and somebody that I could never be proud of. And I have no problem with mirrors anymore. Random Toaster, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Let's see. Chili Phil says it is almost time for the squirrel. And there's some truth to that. We are getting up to the top of the hour. Hello, everyone. I've been here, but I have had so much to do tonight. It's only it's only once in a while and see how everyone is. I love all of you on the lifeboat. Thank you, Tommy, for being the captain. Thank you, man. It's a really, really kind thing to say, Charles. It's you know what? This one wasn't a bad one. This was like I said before, I do some videos that I did some videos that I'm not proud of, and I do some videos that I'm wildly proud of. And this is a subject matter that is important. It really is. It is important. Conky Dong says, squirrel, 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 squirrel. See, he understands the show. Goosebump is also yelling for the squirrel. The squirrel is a star. I know that you people tune in just to see squirrel. Sadly, Squirrel could not make it tonight. She has had the night off.
She's right there.
Oh, apparently she is right here. I was messing with you. She's been in the basket since before I started. All right, people. Well, the show will be back in 11 hours. Not sure who will be doing it. I think I might actually. I think that might be me tomorrow morning. But the show will be back in 11 hours. We're going to do the same thing between now and then. Try and connect. Try and connect with somebody in a really healthy way. If what you rally around is the fact that you are broken, then you will heal. The both of you will be better for it. That's a beautiful thing. It really is. And I have been asked by several people to change up the mantra, at least briefly, as a tribute to Aaron, who says, do you remember, any day is a good day not to be in a cult? And I would say any day is a good day to not be in active addiction, right? Any day is a good day to not have to have dope to get through the day. So we'll be back in 11 hours. I am Captain Tommy Scoville. And this cutie, look at that foot. This is a cat in a basket. You happy? Good night, everybody. We love you. You can go back to sleep now, fat cat. All right, let me shut this down. Thanks, everybody.